Body cam video released today shows the Bourbon Street attacker firing at officers before they shot and killed him, stopping what could have been an even more destructive tragedy. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Sharice Gibson.
And I'm Devin Bartolotta. This new video is another piece of the puzzle as investigators work to learn how Shamsuddin Jabbar planned his rampage. We've examined the evidence ourselves, putting together a timeline of what we know now.
Well, we'll bring that to you in just a moment, but first, preventing a similar attack is now priority number one for the city, especially with carnival parades and the Super Bowl now less than a month away.
Amelia Strahan was on Bourbon Street tonight as new barricades were put out and brings us more on how leaders plan to keep everyone safe.
From replacing rickety roads to fixing streetlights, the city was knee-deep in Super Bowl projects when a terrorist attack on Bourbon Street left 14 dead and dozens of others injured.
It's with heavy hearts that we started 2025 responding to the Bourbon Street attack.
On Friday, city officials gave a progress report of the infrastructure projects underway.
I must report at this time, we are in a 90 percentile rate of completion of over 200 major projects.
But safety was top of mind.
With absolutely all the law enforcement cops you're going to see out there for Super Bowl, you're going to think you're in a sea of blue.
Between local and federal partners, the superintendent said around 1,000 officers will be on patrol during the game.
The NFL security team is confident in our security safety plan, and we are too.
She told us the details of that security plan is confidential, but one of the new safety measures is already on display. On Friday night, NOPD used new steel archers to shut down Bourbon Street to traffic. The same archers will be used to secure the streets around the dome.
And they are strong because when you combine the barriers with cables or without cables, you can stop anywhere between 7 feet and 80 feet.
We asked the manufacturer's CEO, Peter Whitford, if this technology could have stopped Shamsuddin Jabbar's truck from speeding down Bourbon Street and barreling through the crowd.
I think on New Year's morning it would have been a different outcome. I think that's the only thing we can really say. I don't think there's enough information, to go beyond that, but I think it would have been a different outcome.
Between extra law enforcement and new street security, hopefully replacing rickety roads and fixing streetlights are the most of the city's worries on February 9th.
We are more than ready to host Super Bowl 59.
In New Orleans, Amelia Strahan, WWL Louisiana.
It took just 37 seconds for Shamsuddin Jabbar to kill 14 people and change dozens of lives forever. But he had bigger, more horrible plans than being shot and killed by police a few blocks into Bourbon Street. We know this because of the careful planning and movements he made in the hours leading up to 3:17 a.m. on New Year's Day. We've been combing through videos and photos released publicly by the FBI and some you'll see only here on WWL Louisiana. We begin tracking his movements on Halloween 2024.
We start on Bourbon Street at St. Louis on October 31st, 2024. The FBI released this video that Shamsuddin Jabbar recorded on metaglasses riding down the street on a bike. And look here, you can see on EarthCam video uncovered by WWL Louisiana as Jabbar rides right through the live stream at 4:25 p.m. That catches him at the intersection of St. Peter and Bourbon, but he does eventually ride down Royal Street and get to Canal Street at Camp. That's where we see him turn from Canal onto Charter Street, recording on metaglasses as he goes. At 4:54 p.m., he's spotted on security camera in the 900 block of Charters, a pretty full cruise of the quarter, 2 months before the attack.
Jabbar visited again November 10th, though we don't have video of that trip or know what he did while in town. We are able to track many of Jabbar's movements on December 31st in the hours before he drove down Bourbon Street. Around 9 p.m., his rented truck was spotted in Gonzales, Louisiana. An hour later, he was seen taking things in and out of the truck in front of a rented home in St. Roch.
At 12:39 a.m., a Ring doorbell captures the truck used in the attack with coolers in the bed, turning off North Rampart Street onto Governor Nichols. The FBI says he parked nearby, and at 1:12 a.m., he's seen walking toward Bourbon Street. You can see him here in a trench coat walking in the 800 block of Governor Nichols. Jabbar makes his way onto Bourbon Street at 1:48 a.m. That's where he's seen on video rolling one cooler we now know was full of explosives. You can see just how big the crowds were as EarthCam was streaming live on Facebook at that very minute, with Jabbar just a few feet out of frame. And another angle from the FBI at 1:53 a.m. shows him a little closer to St. Peter Street, where the FBI says he left the cooler. he waves and turns around and walks back in the direction of Governor Nichols.
So it's now just before 2 a.m. Jabbar has parked his car somewhere near this intersection, has walked onto Bourbon Street, placed his first bomb, and is now walking back to the area where the truck was parked.
That's where he's seen again, walking down Governor Nichols toward his parked truck. Photos from a different angle released by the FBI show him in more detail. And 4 minutes later, at 2:07, he passes the house again, back in the direction of Bourbon Street, empty-handed. But Jabbar isn't done. At 2:20, he's spotted back on Bourbon with a second cooler. The FBI says he places it at Bourbon and Toulouse. While any photos of Jabbar on the EarthCam site have been taken down, you do see the first cooler in this angle, which is pointed down Bourbon toward Governor Nichols. There are crowds just inches away from the explosives. And we know at some point before the attack, the cooler is rolled almost a full block. You can see it here at Bourbon and Orleans.
No video or photos of Jabbar have been made public that account for the time between 2:20 a.m. and 3:16 a.m.
That's when surveillance video from Canal Street shows his truck headed north, then make a right on Bourbon at exactly 3:17:04 a.m. He tears down Bourbon, passing in front of Crystal at 3:17:13 as people run for their lives. A fraction of a second later, the first call goes into dispatch.
I need EMS at Canal and Bourbon now! Canal and Bourbon now!
And by 3:17:41, just 37 seconds after turning off of Canal, Jabbar had crashed and police had surrounded him, guns drawn. He destroyed and ended lives for 2.5 blocks before it all ended near Conti Street. At this point, the two bombs he had placed were at Bourbon and Orleans and Bourbon and Toulouse. Police officers are positioned between those two spots, and they're seen on EarthCam running toward the scene, running toward the sound of gunfire. At 3:17:45, NOPD engaged in an 8-second shootout, ending Jabbar's 37-second rampage that he had planned for months to be much worse. Much worse, because as police are clearing Bourbon Street, the first cooler Jabbar left is still at Bourbon and Orleans. In the hours before sunrise, it's moved from the street, but you can see officers then taking a closer look at something on the sidewalk. Then more officers respond, and at 3:44,
2500 to headquarters. Raise me a bomb dog or explosive device dog.
Later, the FBI released a photo of that cooler at this very spot.
And we continue to honor the lives of those 14 victims taken in last week's attack with a different day dedicated to each person. Today we honor William Billy DeMeo. The New Jersey account executive was just 25 years old. His family described Billy as a natural leader with a rare soul. His funeral was Wednesday. Another young victim of the Bourbon Street terrorist attack was laid to rest today. Nakaira Dito was only 18 and had hopes of becoming a registered nurse. A few hundred came to pay their respects in Gulfport. Many wore pink, which was her favorite color. Friends say she was a happy, loving, cheerful person who always wanted to make everyone smile. Over the weekend, other victims will also be laid to rest. Tomorrow morning in Roseland, Reggie Hunter will be remembered beginning at 10. Also at 10, visitation will begin for Nicole Perez at Jacob & Son Funeral Home on Canal Street. Then at 11 o'clock, friends and family will gather at Archbishop Shaw Gymnasium in honor of Hubert Gothrow. And tomorrow afternoon at 2, Matthew Tenadorio's loved ones will come together at Audubon Funeral Home in Slidell. And Sunday, a funeral will be held for Drew Dauphin and his hometown of Montgomery, Alabama. And to help all of those victims, Dillard University is hosting a benefit concert at the Georges Auditorium from noon to 4. Several local musicians are taking part, and mental health professionals will also be on site. Admission is free, but donations are encouraged. And you can find more ways to help on your website, WWLTV.com, as well as our app and social media pages.